Welcome to the Future of Medicine podcast, presented by Predictive, the first DNA-based digital twin to predict and prevent over 22,000 diseases.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Future of Medicine. In this podcast, we explore how technology and science are shaping the medicine of the future, from genomics to wearable devices, artificial intelligence to at-home diagnosis and treatments. Our guests will share how they foresee the future and how they contribute to it. This month, we celebrate in the US the National Hispanic Heritage Month. And what better way to celebrate it than to invite the Latino founder of a Latino solution dedicated to the Latino population. So today, I have the great pleasure to welcome Federico Fonson, CEO and founder of Somos. He was born in Baja, California, and raised in Cuernavaca, a beautiful small town in the central region of Mexico. Federico is a former professional athlete, an entrepreneur, and also an MD who graduated with honors. Federico is passionate about metadata, health tech, innovation, and social impact. So I invited Federico today to talk about Somos, the first platform for genetic target identification that will result in high specificity drug discovery for one of the most underrepresented groups worldwide. Indeed, Latin America represents 25% of all the pharma industry revenue. However, the Latino population accounts for less than 1.2% of all genomic data used for drug discovery, and less than 1% in clinical trials. So Somos is changing this by creating the world's largest Latino population biobank and providing high-resolution genomic services to the more than 650 million Latinos worldwide. Federico, welcome to the Future of Medicine. So can you tell us more about your background and how you became an entrepreneur in the healthcare industry?
Thank you, Alex. It's a pleasure to be here with you and sharing a little bit about my story and my background, and always excited to share. As you mentioned, it was a great intro. And as you mentioned, I am a former athlete, and I never thought I was going to study medicine. I come from a very unusual background. My family migrated from Europe to Mexico, from different countries, Spain, Germany, Italy, and they settled in Mexico. And I come from a family of medical doctors. My grandfather, he was a medical doctor. My great-grandfather was a medical doctor. My father, he was also a medical doctor. And I always said that I didn't want to become a medical doctor. I didn't want to study for so many years. And it was really something that I wouldn't envision as a part of my future. So I was an athlete, and I was really excited about sports. I had the opportunity to play soccer in Mexico in a very high top level, and in Europe and in South America. And I always thought I was going to just stay as a professional athlete. But in the end, I always had this curiosity for medicine, because I was very young, and I always helped my dad, with his own patients. So I was always very related to medicine. And one day I just decided that I was going to start med school. And during my med school program, I was always very, very, very curious about technology and how we could improve diagnosis and improve the healthcare system in Mexico. Because everyone has heard that many underdeveloped countries, we suffer in different areas, right? And one of them is healthcare. And our healthcare system is really disconnected, So we realized that there were many different issues within the healthcare system. One of them was the way that we were generating and aggregating and sharing data. So we don't do that. And the other one is I realized that I was also part of the problem, because I was treating my patients with drugs that were not developed for our population, And since I come from a very diverse background, I wanted always to understand, the impact of my ethnicity and my ancestry in my health. So my grandfather, he got prostate cancer twice. That's from my paternal lineage. And then from my maternal lineage, my grandfather, he also had prostate cancer. So I was always concerned, like, I don't know that much about my heritage and my ancestry and what's going to be the impact in my health in the future. So this is a little bit on how everything actually started. And I would say that being an athlete made me very, very resilient and also very organized and very, let's say, I like to have methodologies and processes to do things. And I think that's something that has really helped me a lot.
Okay, well, what a what a way from an athlete to a medical doctor to an entrepreneur now. So this is where the idea of Somos is. I tried to summarize what is Somos, but on one side you have you want to build a Latino a biobank for the Latino population. On the other side, you have some ancestry service that are focused on the Latino population. So what do you do? What type of services, what solution do you provide today to your customers, to your clients?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So when we realized that the problem in Mexico and Latin America was data aggregation, and that's what really is delaying the implementation of precision medicine in Latin America, we decided to build a bank of data that will allow us to make a real change, So it will allow us to create that access so that we can do research with it and we can share with institutions so that we can advance faster in different areas. One of them is, of course, drug discovery, but we would also like to advance in preventive medicine and even if we can advance in other technologies that maybe don't impact directly the healthcare system, but also can benefit from the use of this type of information. So we realized that we needed to build a biobank. And as you know, for data science, you need huge amounts of information, so you need hundreds of thousands or millions of data sets. So we tried to think in a way that we could connect by building a biobank of indigenous participants, because that's one of the biggest problems that we have and that we face. We don't have enough information from indigenous people from our continent so that we can use or identify those unique genetic markers that make our population develop some diseases or some specific phenotypes, or being protected from developing those diseases. So when we needed to build a group of indigenous participants, then we started thinking, what's the best way to connect the indigenous biobank with the Latino customer in order to generate, huge amounts of information. And for us, the best way was ancestry, So we decided to target the Latino market in the US because it's a market that, first of all, it's trained already, So the companies that started with direct-to-consumer genomics in the US, they have done the hard work for us, So it's the Latino consumer has already heard at least about ancestry testing. And the prediction is that at least around 18 million Latinos will take a DNA ancestry test in the next 2 years. So it's not only a huge market, but it's a big opportunity for us to generate big data sets that will allow us to do research with it. So this is the way that we connected the dots. So it's, in the end, it's a biobank, and we call it a familia biobank, like the family, because we are crowdsourcing the Latino genome, because we need more people in order to understand the process of how genetics and diseases are connected.
So to build that biobank, you're using you're starting with the ancestry part, which is similar to Ancestry.com or 23andMe. So why would people get Somos Ancestry instead of 23andMe or another similar solution?
That's a great question, because the answer is that we're a company that generates the data. So since we generate data in collaboration with our indigenous nations in Mexico, and we're looking to expand to Latin America, we have access to this type of information in order to improve the resolution for the Native American ancestry. So a user that has taken already 23andMe, Ancestry, MyHeritage, and let's call, there are like hundreds of companies that do ancestry testing. They don't they don't give a good breakdown of the Native American ancestry to the Latino consumer. And the reason why is they don't have data to make that breakdown. So if you don't have data from those populations, it's impossible for you to make a prediction on how they relate with those groups. So Somos right now has implemented specific algorithms through the data sets that we've generated in order to give this type of service. And honestly, I mean, you know a little bit about the story of Somos, and you know that we've bootstrapped for the last year, and we have more than 3,000 users already. I would say that it's completely organic. We have done some partnerships, but it's mainly organic. And the reason why is consumers really get something different than what they get from these other companies. And we know that Latinos really want to connect back with their roots. They want to connect with their culture. You have sometimes second or third generation Latinos or Mexicans in the US, and they are quite disconnected from their culture. And that's where we find an opportunity to create a biobank through helping people connect back with their roots.
So you have your customers today. So mainly you're targeting Latino populations in the US specifically, right? And can people benefit from it from other countries, or how does that work? I mean, do you ship in Mexico? Do you ship where you're from? Do you ship in Brazil or in any other place in Latin America?
Yeah, let's put the numbers together so that we understand why our focus is mainly right now in the US, and we're not doing shipments to other countries right now because there are different regulations in different countries. So we don't want to get like too distracted in building, you know, like the solution until we have really a great amount of users, and then we can look into expanding. We know very well the direct-to-consumer genetic testing market in Mexico because I've been in this market like for the last 5 or 6 years. So I know exactly how to build it, and I know that it's not the right time, you know. So this is why we decided to start with the US. And as I was saying, the numbers are very clear. So Latinos represent 1/10 of the world population. So we are close to 650 million Latinos worldwide. So we're a huge market, and we are a huge, you know, a big population. We're the biggest minority, and 1/10 of this group is based in the US. So we have 62 million Latinos in the US, and it's expected to grow and become a majority by 2050. So if that's the case, we are at the right moment, and we are really targeting the potential next biggest population in the US. So this is the reason why we decided to start in the US, and why we decided to focus 100% Latinos. And of course, because we're Latinos, you know, and we share the pain point, and we share, this painful situation, which is being underrepresented in science.
Well, thank you. What are your plans for the future in terms of features, products? So we know that over time you want to build that massive biobank for the Latino population. But I would say in between, from the product you have today, do you have some other evolutions coming in? Do you plan to launch some other products to feed the database?
Yes, that's right. So we know that this game of biobanking and direct-to-consumer, the one that really becomes the, let's not say the owner, but the king of the market, a specific market, is when you find a way to engage and connect with the user, right? So we know that very well, and those companies haven't been able to do it because they don't speak the language, they don't understand the culture, they don't have as many Latino employees in their groups so that they can really try to connect with that with the Latino community. So we're definitely thinking on launching different features. Some of them are going to be as usual because there's like a standard of what you need to offer in direct-to-consumer genetics. So we're adding health traits, we're adding also wellness and performance, and some areas that we have a lot of experience and we have developed before, you know, and we have been working in Mexico before. But what we want to build is something different. I mean, we're working on building a similar service where you will be able to connect with relatives, and you will be able to connect with, you know, like the Latino population for real. And we're also looking into some specific features that are like 100% focused on Latinos, you know. So we are going to launch a service that will allow you to know if you have more sensitivity to chili or to capsaicin, which is the component in the chili that makes you, you know, like tolerate or not the spicy sauces that we usually eat in Mexico. So that's the type of things that we are trying to develop so that we can have a real good engagement. And we're probably also going to launch a historical matching tool. So we have been talking to some family from very important historical figures in Mexico, and we're looking into building reference panels so that we can allow people to compare their maternal or paternal lineage to those historical figures. And that's something really interesting, because Mexicans, you know, we're very patriotic, and we really want to understand if we have that real connection with our heroes and our historical figures. So yeah, we're working on different things in order to engage with the users, because we know that that's where you win the game, you know, when you are able to really connect with the user and share more information.
Okay, that sounds fun. Less fun. What is your biggest operational challenge today, or challenge in general for Somos at that stage of the company?
So building a great business growth and marketing team, I think that's always because we're technical founders. You know, I'm a medical doctor. We understand the problem from our side. We definitely have been connected to the marketing, and you know, like we've been very closely related on how to build campaigns and to build up the complete structure. But I think that's the biggest challenge, you know, how do you actually penetrate the market and you become a recognized brand by the Latino community? So we have some ideas already in mind, but I think putting the teams together is, it's always hard, you know, and I had a previous company, so I know that if you don't make the right decisions in the team that you choose, then you're going to suffer. So I think that's the biggest challenge always.
Okay. Another challenge that many entrepreneurs have is just about money. So today, how are you funded? Do you have institutional investors? Do you plan to raise some additional funds to grow faster? So what are your plans on the money side?
That's always a problem in the seed stage or pre-seed or idea stage. You know, I mean, you're always looking for investment or money. And I'm going to share very quick. When the pandemic hit, we needed to make a decision if we were going to raise money, because investors were not actually investing. You know, all of the funds, like, they were very skeptic in making decisions and investing during during 2020 and 2021, beginnings of 2021. So we made a decision to launch our service and start generating revenue, because we needed to find a way to either grow and being able to pay the salaries for our team, and also show the traction that we needed to show. You know, we needed to show that we could grow organically, and then we can use more investment in order to grow more exponentially. So we launched last year. At the end of last year, we've been generating revenue. We have more than 3,000 users. And now it's the moment that we are opening a seed round, because now it's the moment to grow. Now we need a bigger team. We need to collect more data from indigenous participants in Mexico to grow the biobank and being able to improve our service as well. Because from the 60 million Latinos, 40 million are Mexicans. So we need to really improve the service for this Mexican American population. And so we've opened right now our seed round. We already received some checks from angel investors, and now we are discussing with some institutional investors as well, so that we can accelerate things right now. So we already have, you know, like some term sheets being discussed in the crowdfunding campaign. so that we can. The idea of the crowdfunding campaign is using it as a great tool to connect with the Latino community. We really want to build a community, and we need to build a community. And I think that crowdfunding allows people to really connect with the mission. And so this is like the next steps in terms of funding for Somos.
Oh, that's very exciting. We're talking about next steps. I will get even further. Let's talk about the future. So you're building that giant database. What impact do you think aggregating that data for the Latino community will have over time? So of course it's nice to have all that data, but what would be the impact concretely on the populations?
So for one thing, what I see is drug discovery. For us, the most important is to identify those genetic and those targets that are fun for the Latino community, in order to develop new drugs that are oriented to our population, right? So this is the most impact that we see in the next 10 to 15 years. But I mean, who knows? I mean, in the end, we can always work in other areas like health intelligence. We can work with governments and start identifying specific geographical areas where people are more prone to develop X or Y diseases. So we think that there are many uses by building these type of platforms. But I think that drug discovery is where we've been left out and where we really want to make a massive change.
So you have that solution that enables the patients to have a lot of details on genetic risk and traits, having maybe a more personalized drugs or drugs that are targeting more that those population. Is it how you envision the future of medicine, the future of healthcare, to have super personalized treatments over groups of population or even about individuals?
I've been very, very romantic since I started med school, you know, about automation and hyperconnectivity. I actually published a paper in a Congress in China 4 years ago, where I was actually talking about that, you know, like the way that you can actually hyperconnect with the smart cities in order to do real preventive medicine without people even knowing about it, you know. So it will come to a point where you will have all of your different devices, and this is just a little bit of a science fiction, where you will have all of your devices measuring all of the time without you even knowing that they are taking measurements, you know, in the toilet, in your fridge, you know, like everywhere. You will have like this hyperconnectivity that will tell you or will guide you on how to proceed during your day without even having to I mean, just like very natural, you know. So I really think that this is going to become fully automated. We are seeing companies that are building, you know, like human labs in a chip, and so that you can have like real-time measurements of your different biomarkers in your blood and in different tissues. So I think we will come to that, you know, where everything is going to be fully automated. And I think companies that do analytics and work with big data are going to be very relevant at that point. And of course, AI and machine learning. So I think that's the way we are heading.
Well, Federico, thank you so much for joining us today. Somos is very ambitious. That's a very exciting venture that can bring so much to the Latino population, but in general also to personalized medicine. Best of luck also for your crowdfunding campaign. And I invite everyone to invest in this company and to support the future of medicine. And thank you everyone for joining this podcast on the future of medicine, and see you next week.
Thank you, Alex.
This was the Future of Medicine podcast, presented by Predictive, the first DNA-based digital twin to predict and prevent over 22,000 diseases. Learn more on www.predictivecare.com.